Welcome back to the Midnight Files, When Nature Strikes. I'm your host, Brian. May 22nd, 2011, Joplin, Missouri. A city that awoke to ordinary skies, and by nightfall, found itself changed forever. What happened that day wasn't just a tornado. It was a perfect storm of destruction, chaos, and ultimately, resilience. Tonight we trace every minute of the EF5 tornado that tore through Joplin, Missouri. We'll walk the streets before the sirens. We'll ride the storm, minute by horrifying minute. And we'll explore what came after. The heartbreak, the healing, and the legacy of one of the worst natural disasters in modern American history. Joplin is a city of about 50,000, nestled in the southwest corner of Missouri. Known for its Midwestern charm, a history rooted in mining, and a strong sense of community. May 22nd, 2011 was a Sunday. It was a graduation day for Joplin High School. Families were gathering to celebrate. Some were headed to the local Pizza Hut and the Home Depot to pick up weekend supplies. Others went to church or the park. The day began warm and slightly humid, a classic setup for spring in Tornado Alley. By midday, the National Weather Service had issued a tornado watch for the region. But in a state where storms are common like this, and sirens a seasonal norm, only few were alarmed. After all, tornadoes touched down in empty fields. It had been decades since Joplin had taken a direct hit. But on that day, everything would align. Just after 5 p.m., a supercell thunderstorm formed in southeast Kansas and drifted toward the Missouri border. Conditions were textbook: high instability, strong wind shear, and abundant moisture. At 5:17 p.m., radar detected a rotating thunderstorm, a mesocyclone. A tornado warning was issued at 5:17 p.m. for central Jasper County, which included Joplin. But for many residents, the warnings didn't register with urgency. Then, at 5:34 p.m., the tornado touched down near the western edge of Joplin. What began as a narrow funnel cloud rapidly intensified. Within moments, it grew into a massive, half-mile-wide wedge tornado. The twister began its deadly march eastward, and over the next 38 minutes, would nearly flatten everything in its path. Picture this. Homes were obliterated in seconds. Steel-reinforced structures were torn apart. Trees were stripped to bare splinters. The tornado cut directly through densely populated neighborhoods. Streets like 26th and Indiana were completely leveled. Entire city blocks had vanished. The damage was catastrophic. St. John's Regional Medical Center was a 9-story hospital. It suffered a direct hit. The building shifted 4 inches off of its foundation. Patients on life support had to be evacuated down darkened stairwells. Glass exploded. Lives hung in the balance. Joplin High School, empty just hours after graduation, was reduced to nothing but a shell. Walmart, Home Depot, and Sonic, and multiple churches were all leveled. Eyewitnesses describe a low growling roar, a sky that turned green, hail the size of golf balls, and a sound, not just wind, but a freight train of unimaginable volume. Survivors would later tell stories that sound like fiction. A father shielding his children in a bathtub as the walls disappeared around him. A woman sucked into the air but landed blocks away, bruised but alive. A group of strangers crammed into a meat freezer at a gas station, emerging into a world that no longer existed. When the tornado finally lifted east of Joplin, 38 minutes had passed. What remained looked like a war zone. Within minutes of the tornado's end, sirens screaming and the sound of car alarms had filled the air. Joplin's emergency services were overwhelmed. First responders from surrounding towns and eventually across the country descended onto the area. Rescue crews searched through massive piles of debris, some 20 feet high, looking for any sign of life. It wasn't just professionals, it was neighbors, shopkeepers, off-duty teachers, and teens with flashlights. The local Home Depot was flattened, with dozens trapped inside. At the Pizza Hut on Range Line Road, employees held a freezer door shut as the building collapsed around them. Some survived, others, however, did not. The official numbers were staggering. 158 people were killed. That includes men, women, children, and grandparents. And over 1,150 others were injured. Nearly 7,500 homes were destroyed, and the damages exceeded $3 billion. The Joplin tornado became one of the deadliest in the US since 1947, and the costliest tornado in American history. Entire neighborhoods were unrecognizable. The landscape looked like a desert of wood, concrete, and sorrow. In the days that followed, the nation responded. President Obama had visited. Volunteers, thousands of them, poured into Joplin. Aid organizations arrived with supplies. Churches became shelters. Schools had relocated their classes. Survivors leaned on each other to endure. Joplin didn't just rebuild, it evolved. New homes were constructed with improved building codes. The hospital was rebuilt as Mercy Hospital Joplin. The warning systems were updated. Lessons were learned in emergency preparedness, public alert systems, and community resilience. And each year on May 22nd, a remembrance ceremony honors those who lost their lives and those who stood up in the storm's wake. There's something about tornadoes. They don't just destroy buildings, they disrupt lives in the matter of seconds. They test our ability to withstand the unimaginable. The Joplin tornado is more than a weather story. It's a human story of tragedy, of survival, and of a community that refused to be defined by what it had lost, but by how it came together afterward. Thank you for joining me on the Midnight Files When Nature Strikes. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, hit the like button, leave a review, or a comment. Your support keeps these stories alive. And until next time, stay safe. Good night.